welcome to my channel. My name is Ty Miles. I am a certified mindfulness and life coach. I am also a somatic healing practitioner and host of Heal, Grow, Prosper Retreat. Today, we're diving into a question that is crucial to every woman's well-being. And that question is, are you really happy? Are you really happy? I recently read a quote that said, life is too long to be unhappy. And I totally agree with that. I can remember 2 short years ago, I was sitting on my therapist's couch, rattling off about all the things that was going on in my world. There were several, undesirable circumstances happening, work, life, marriage, kids, all the things. And in the middle of my conversation, she inserted herself, which she usually does not, but I'm happy that she did this time. And she said, Ty, are you really happy? And that question shook me. I wasn't quite ready for that. It's like I knew what she was saying, but it was not connecting with me. Like there was some resistance to the idea that I was unhappy. And I can admit that it was quite challenging to sit with myself and wrap my head around the reality. And that reality was, I was indeed unhappy. And after many conversations recently that have been popping off in my community, I thought, let's just talk about it. I think it's time that we talk about the issue. And I think that you will realize that maybe in your past, you were not honest with yourself in admitting that you were unhappy. Or even right now, you may not be giving yourself space to honestly acknowledge that you are unhappy and that there's time to do something about that. Many women find it challenging to open up about their unhappiness for many reasons. Let's explore some of these reasons together. Number one is societal expectations. That is the number one factor that plays into a woman not acknowledging her being happy, and that is, what are other people going to think about me? In this society, unfortunately, as women, we carry this expectation that we must have it all together. We must have all of our ducks in a row, and it can feel quite intimidating. And could make us feel that we might be misunderstood if we begin to open up and share about our unhappiness. And it could also give the appearance that we are failing whatever the various expectations are if we were to say that we don't have everything under control or that we are not happy with a certain aspect of our lives. Secondly is the fear of judgment. When we're open up to our family, to our friends, in our workspaces, right? If we open up that we are unhappy about something in our lives, it could also leave room for misunderstanding, right? But it also could leave room for, worrying that our coworkers or our families or our friends could think less of us because we are struggling. The next one is internalized beliefs. Women can internalize the belief that how they feel is less important than how other people feel. And oftentimes that manifests in our lives as putting the needs of others before our own. For example, a mother that is constantly putting off her self-care, constantly taking on extra work, dismissing the fact that she needs rest, or her body is having some type of ailment. She's pushing through. That also happens in the workspace, whether you are an employee or entrepreneur, that next project, or overextending yourself to the degree that is unhealthy for you could be based off this internalized belief that you have to put what other people need and want and expect of you ahead of what you need, ahead of what you want, and ahead of your own expectations. And lastly, concern for others. oftentimes we take on how other people feel, right? And so we feel that if we were to express that we were unhappy, that it will be adding a burden to those around us. And we don't want those around us to feel that we are complaining, or to feel that we are being negative, or even just to add our stuff to their stuff and adding that burden. So our concern about other people keeps us, from acknowledging and communicating that we are unhappy. Therefore, we begin to suppress these feelings and not really take time to really process what's going on and the impact of us staying in a state of unhappiness. So let's talk about some of the signs that you may be in denial. And I think that recognizing is the first step to addressing it. You must acknowledge and accept that you are something in order for you to take that next step to make meaningful change. And so a few of the signs that you may be in denial, and man, oh man, these are some good ones. So get ready, either say amen or ouch, because I think I've been all of these, right? So the first one is constant busyness, keeping yourself overly busy, booked and busy, constantly taking on projects, constantly agreeing to do things for other people. And whether you are consciously doing this, or sometimes and oftentimes we subconsciously do this, we are consciously keeping ourselves busy to avoid sitting down and actually processing our unhappiness. So that shows up with, if I don't have any time to think about my unhappiness, am I really unhappy? If I don't take the time to really sit down, slow down long enough to acknowledge that I'm unhappy, will it some way, go away on its own? So it's this denial that shows up as constant busyness. And I know I was there. I just never took the time to slow down enough to really sit with my feelings, because I was always on the move, always working, always doing something for other people, which did not leave me much time to really address or acknowledge that I was unhappy. And I think that happens a lot. Next, we have minimizing the issue. I've done this, downplaying my feelings, downplaying, my problems, convincing yourself. We convince ourselves that everything is okay, or things are not as bad as they could be, or with all the many wonderful things going on in my life, how could I dare, not be happy with this one thing or this other thing or these certain areas of our lives? So we begin to downplay our unhappiness, right? Have you been there? Next up is avoidance. Avoiding conversations with people that may bring up our true feelings about something. This can happen, maybe you're unhappy in a relationship, and instead of just having that hard heart conversation with your loved one, you avoid having the conversation because you know that if you have the conversation, you may find yourself in a position of having to share that truth, that you're unhappy with the state of your relationship or something that's going on in your relationship. Or you may have to perpetuate that unhappiness and put yourself in a position to lie. And I will say that oftentimes, and more often than not, we are not honest about how we're feeling. So whether we admit that we are unhappy, we are not telling the truth and living a lie, or, we avoid having those conversations to express how we really feel. Now, this can also happen at work. That's another, environment where you may feel intimidated. You may not like confrontation. You may not feel that you have the right words to articulate exactly how you feel in a way that, people can receive it. And so you avoid the conversations because you know that if you have the conversation, then there's that opportunity, that door for the real truth to come up and out, which is that you are unhappy with something within your environment. Something is not in sync with you and you are experiencing some type of emotional upset. You are unhappy. And then you have to address that unhappiness. And then we also have physical symptoms. And I will say this is another sign that we often dismiss because we are in this hustle culture, this grind. And so our bodies are oftentimes one of the first things that are telling us that we need to slow down or we need to pay attention because there's some type of dis-ease happening in our body. And so oftentimes unhappiness can show up and manifest in our bodies as, headaches or some type of physical symptoms that there is no medical explanation. You haven't been having this issue. For me, when I was going through a very difficult time in a workplace situation that I knew I needed to make a decision around, either to leave or to have one of those conversations to improve that environment, before I made the decision and accepted that I was unhappy and took that next step in having a conversation, it manifested in my body as physical pain in my back. It manifested as headaches, anxiety. So I will have heart palpitations from anxiety. And I was also experiencing high blood pressure, a symptom that I had never experienced before that was 100% connected to what was happening in my workplace. So physical symptoms could be a manifestation of unhappiness. Next, we have irritability. Now, this is one that can show up on a daily basis. Like you have a short fuse, your family, your friends, even at work, you're snapping off and you're snappy for no real reason. It's a very surface level thing, but it seems that anything and everything is irritating you. It is because you are on edge. Something has consistently been off in your life, in your environment for a while. You have suppressed it. You have made it your norm to deal with it. Yet, when there are things in your environment or people in your environment, it inadvertently trigger you and causes you to have this reaction, this knee-jerk reaction to external stimuli, right? And so you're just in that state of, your nervous system is in that state of fight or flight, and you are experiencing some type of dysregulation that causes you to be short. It causes you to have a short fuse and be irritable very easily. So irritability is another sign. Also, emotional numbness. This can show up as detachment. You don't have an emotional response or sense of embodiment in the conversations, in your workplaces, in the relationships that you hold. So you are sort of in a place where you're like on autopilot, right? So you're going through the motions, yet you're not connecting with the feelings of what's going on around you. I know I was there, but I don't remember the conversations. I know you and I are having a conversation, but my mind is so consumed or so detached with other things in my life that I really can't hear what you're thinking. I can't hear what you're saying. So I see that you're talking to me, and at the same time, my mind is somewhere else. There's this emotional detachment or this dissonance between, what's happening around you and how you are embodying that experience through your senses, right? And then we have isolation. Isolation is withdrawing from your social group. Again, this is be personal or professional. You might decline invites to gatherings or to social activities, to events. You may stop doing some of the things that you once loved. You're no longer interested in doing those things. You may also find yourself really just not having enough energy to engage with your family, with your friends, and after hours. You just don't have that emotional or mental capacity to do the things that you once enjoyed. So that's another sign that you really need to pay attention and really do some further evaluation of what's going on. Take some time to process what's going on with you emotionally. And lastly, we have here negative self-talk. And I think that this shows up on a day-to-day basis in many of our lives. is when we have this negative narrative in our minds about who we are, about what we're capable of, and we become highly critical of ourselves. Like we just can't get it right. Like things just won't go the way that I want them to go. And just like nothing ever happens the way that I want it to happen. And it doesn't mean that you are, like I said, you may not have that degree of thought every day, but you have to pay attention to the negative self-talk that is coming up in your head and how frequently you're having that negative self-talk. Because here's what's happening. You are hearing yourself speak critically to you every single day. And eventually that is going to take root and it's going to manifest in your life. It's going to manifest in your relationships and it's going to manifest in your results or the lack thereof. So we need to pay attention when we are having periods of consistent critical self-talk. Self-talk that's not constructive. This is self-talk that generally deprecates. You put yourself in a self-deprecating position. This is the type of self-talk that diminishes your value, that, really causes you to be in a place where your insecurities and your sense of self-worth and self-esteem is being activated, right? So your things happening that you're telling yourself stories in your head that is perpetuating a belief that you are unworthy or something, or that you are incapable of doing something, or that you are less than in some type of way, or disconnected, left out, abandoned, or rejected in some type of way. So when we are replaying those stories in our head over and over and over again, that's another sign that we are unhappy with something. So let's also now go into, how we can begin to address this issue of, unhappiness. Once we acknowledge that, hey, maybe I am unhappy, I have several of those signs present in my life. So what can you do about it? So here are a few mindfulness practices that I personally have part of my practice that have been helping me for many years to daily improve my overall well-being, begin to control my emotions better navigate upsets and misunderstandings without it totally throwing my life off balance. So the first one I would recommend is mindful breathing. Taking a few minutes. Usually that looks like 5 minutes as part of my morning routine, but you can do this practice any time of the day that makes sense for you. And so this is mindful breathing. Just take a few minutes to breathe. Inhale, hold, exhale. This is an intentional altering of your breath pattern in order to calm your nervous system. One of the practices that I would recommend is box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds. So it's that consistent progression of 4 seconds, inhalations, pauses, exhalations, that is considered box breathing. So try that the next time you feel yourself, feeling overwhelmed, you feel yourself in a space where you're not feeling safe or secure, try box breathing. That is just a very simple breathing practice that you might find helpful. Number 2 is journaling. Journaling is part of my daily practice right now. But if you're new to journaling, it may be hard for you to start the practice and go right into doing it daily. And so this may look like once a week journaling or twice a week journaling, or it could be based off the event. If you have an event that triggers you, journal around the event. And so either one of those ways that work best for you, just consider writing. Because here's what happens when you journal. You get it out of your head, one. So when you release it from your head, I believe that it has a diminished impact. So it has less of an impact on your body in terms of creating dis-ease, because now you're sort of taking it out of your mind space and putting it on paper. So you're getting it out of you and you're putting it on paper so you are able to compartmentalize and contain that emotional upset better. And then once you write it down, you can begin to process how you feel and really write down, what's going on when the upset happened. What were the sensations, the feelings, the beliefs, the judgments, the thoughts associated with that upset? So you can better process it and then determine the best way to reconcile or to begin to navigate that to a more positive outcome once you're able to get it out of your head onto paper and process it. So journaling is great. And then a gratitude practice. Literally every morning when I wake up, literally as my eyes pop open, it is a thank you, God, for this day. And I have conditioned myself to immediately wake up with gratitude. So I'm immediately thinking about what 3 things am I grateful for? So after I express thankfulness and gratefulness for, waking up to a new day, a fresh start, I add on 3 additional things that I am grateful for. Maybe I'm grateful for my husband, who's very supportive. Maybe I'm grateful for my children who support me, love me, bring so much joy to my life. Maybe I am grateful for my client community. They are my extended family and we are doing life together. And so I'm grateful for these 3 things. So every day I'm going to find 3 different things or a combination of 3 things that I am grateful for. The idea behind that is to find something that you are satisfied with in this moment, which sort of takes away that polarization that everything in my life is going wrong, which could put you in a more negative state than a positive state. So a gratitude practice helps you to ground yourself in a positive state, which once you get that positive inspiration going, it really can keep you from really, spiraling downward and give you some inspiration and motivation to continue to move forward through life, understanding that what you are going through is temporary and better is coming, right? Next, we have getting out in nature can really help shift your mood, elevate your mindset, and really calm your nervous system as well. So getting out in nature, this can look like a quick, 10-minute walk. This could look like stepping outside and allowing the crisp wind to hit your face, or the sun's heat to really, hit against your skin. And what happens when these things are happening, it helps grounds us in the moment. The earth is reminding us that we're still here in this moment. We are champions in this moment. We are overcoming in this breath. In this moment, I'm here, I'm alive, and I am victorious. Even though my circumstances may not be the most ideal, it is a reminder that in this moment, you are safe. In this moment, you have what you need. In this moment, there's breath in your body, which means there is a life. And as long as you have life, you have the power to change your circumstances. So grounding and getting out in nature are great ways to really boost your mood, calm your nervous system through the practice of grounding, and really just gives you that pump, that little infusion of inspiration and good feelings to help you move forward and onward through your day. And then lastly, we have affirmations. Positive affirmations are great for reframing negative thoughts. This could be something as simple as I am worthy of happiness, or I am worthy, period. I am happy. That is another very simple statement. I am happy and fulfilled. I have the power to create the happiness that I deserve. Every day, I actively co-create a life of joy, well-being, and happiness. Those are some of my go-to affirmations. And so when you are constantly affirming the positive, at some point you begin to believe what you speak, and you begin to look for evidence of what you're speaking being real. This is something that is science-backed. the more you say something, there's this thing called cognitive bias, meaning that when I say something, I then begin to look for evidence of what I say in my external world. So affirmations are very powerful. Affirmations are very powerful and allow what we want to become possible. So I think these are some great tips. We've talked about, some of the hesitations and reservations women have to admitting that they are unhappy. We also talked about some of the signs that you may be in a state of unhappiness in your life. And we talked about some of the simple practices that you can do every day to begin to live more mindfully and put yourself in a better place emotionally so that you can have the mental bandwidth to begin to make positive change in your life. So before we wrap up today, I must take a moment to invite those of you who are listening in, and maybe you are ready to take the next step in your journey. I want to invite you to join me at Heal, Grow, Prosper Retreat happening in September. This is a somatic healing and mindfulness retreat where we are going to spend 3 days together working through the practices that we just talked about, some of those mindfulness practices I just mentioned, working through those practices and so much more. So if you know that you need to slow down to really evaluate what you are experiencing on an emotional level, on a physical level, on overall wellness level, if you're ready to do that in a nurturing, safe environment, in a beautiful, backdrop for this type of work, I invite you to join me at Heal, Grow, Prosper Retreat. All you have to do is click the link below in the description so that you can learn more and sign. All right, that being said, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And remember to like, comment, and share if you want to hear more content on mindfulness and personal growth. Definitely drop a comment about what you would like to hear me talk more around. I'll be happy to bring that content your way. Remember, you deserve to be happy and you deserve to take the time to nurture yourself. Until next time, take care and be well.